The Queensland government says it's withholding vaccines because it cannot guarantee supply from the federal government. What's your response to that?
That it's sad that something as important as this has become a war of words between politicians. I don't think there's a single person out there, Queenslander or otherwise, who cares whether or not the needle is a state or a federal needle. They just want to know that it's not in a fridge. They want it in their arms. And to see the circus yesterday where tit for tats and finger pointing, I think that's just disappointing at a time that every vaccine that can be administered is one step closer to normality, one step closer to a small business that right now is clinging for survival, one step closer to a casual worker who is just wondering whether or not they're going to have a shift over the Easter long weekend. And yet to see petty squabbling, I don't think that did anybody any good whatsoever.
But would you like the federal government to step up when it does come to information about vaccine supply? Because there seems to be a lot of confusion.
Sure, but I'd like to see the state government do the same as well. And I'm not going to run a protection racket for any level of government. People have spoken. They want to see the rollout done in a more timely and efficient manner. In the case of the state government, we've had frontline health workers who have been working in COVID wards without having even their first injection, while other people in administration in hospitals have had theirs. Now that suggests to me that the rollout not only hasn't been done quickly enough, but hasn't been targeted enough. But the federal government also have to speed up the rollout, and particularly the way that we're going to the GPs. They are hungry to do more, and I think Australians and Queenslanders are lining up for it. They just want to see some clarity of messaging, and they want to see government stop the squabble. I don't think that's too much to ask for something this important.
Are you worried, though, that public confidence is now undermined? We see reports today that about 1/3 of residential aged and disability care facilities have actually received the vaccine.
Danica, I don't think that undermines confidence. I think that it's just people look at it and they despair over politicians behaving badly. I think overwhelmingly people want the jab. And overwhelmingly, they don't care who owns the needle. They just want to know that it's done as quickly as possible. If we can do it, and if we can develop a greater portion of immunity, that reduces the likelihood of lockdowns occurring into the future. That reduces the likelihood of people who currently have stocked up fridges in the hospitality and entertainment industry and are hanging and waiting for a decision which needs to be taken as quickly as possible. In the case of Queensland this morning, that they're just hanging for that decision. That decision can mean the difference between them closing the doors in a fortnight or trading through. Now, I'm not being over dramatic. I have reached out to businesses across the state in the last couple of days because no one else is talking about small business. There's been a lot of talk about the health response, rightly so. But someone's got to stick up for small and family business, and someone's got to stick up for their employees. And that conversation has been mute. Nothing. Zero. And these guys are hanging by their fingertips, and all they want is a decisive, clear decision, and they want to know that there is support in place when these decisions are taken.
Okay, but does that
they
suggest
want to know
then
that there's some sort of financial incentive?
Did the JobKeeper subsidy then end too soon? Because we have a case now where the small businesses, they're still in lockdown. They don't know if they're going to emerge, but when they do emerge from that lockdown, they won't have any support. Did the subsidy end too soon?
I've been very vocal on this, and I said to Peter only a week or so ago, I would have liked to have seen a targeted version to businesses, particularly in regions that were heavily reliant on things like tourism and hospitality. I would have liked to have seen some continuity of that program in whatever form or whatever it was called specifically for those industries. But I also wanted to see the state government, the parliament that I sit in, acknowledge that government isn't just about moaning and pointing your finger at another level of government. Now, if you have a look at what the tourism subsidy, particularly in the form of the airlines, is worth, compared with the state government's voucher system that we pushed for and we say is a wonderful initiative, but it works out to be about $47 per Australian, what the Commonwealth is doing. The state government contribution in Queensland is $1.16 per resident. Now, I think the everyday Queenslander and the businesses that rely on people to stay afloat, I think they're worth a little more than $1. Now, I'm going to keep banging the drum. Queensland also has to step up to the plate. There are things like payroll tax, which is due in the next week, the next round of payments. There's liquor licensing fees for these tourism and hospitality business. They're all coming like a steam train at the moment, and they have got to have some relief. They need to know that the government, someone is on their side, and that's what we're fighting for.
David, I want to ask you about the lockdown just before we go. Decision is expected to be made in the coming hours. Given the trajectory of the cases, are you hopeful that it will end today?
I am, and I'm praying it is for a raft of reasons. There's the economic ones that I have outlined. There's also the social ones, a very important time on the Christian calendar, and people want to come together. But you mentioned about the announcement. I would like to see that announcement as quickly as possible. Now, I know that might sound a little silly considering we've got one due in 2 and a bit hours, but minutes matter in this regard. There are businesses that are making decisions whether or not they need to stock their fridges or whether or not they need to roster staff on, and minutes matter. Now, we've had mixed messages on this. We were told a few days ago that a decision could be made on last night. Now we've been told it has to be 9 o'clock this morning. If the government's got the information, release it to the public. Release it in real time. I just can't stress enough how much this has been a blow, not just to businesses in the lockdown area. I've had phone calls from providers in Longreach to Cairns and everywhere in between. The phone has been running off the hook for all the wrong reasons. And I want to see business acknowledged. I want to see it compensated. I want clarity of message, and I want people to be given every hope to salvage something. What could have been a bumper Easter, I want some level of recognition that business is hurting, some level of recognition that certainty and message matters.
All right, well, we will be expecting that announcement soon. David Crisafulli, thank you for joining me.
Thanks very much.